What's up, everybody? Peace, 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 people. Today, I wanted to do a reaction video. I seen a brother that had a strong message for Black Americans, and I haven't heard the whole thing, but I hope it's a very well-spoken message for us to use from the perspective of a guy, a male, a man, because we don't really hear really good messaging. It might be harsh. It might be a hard pill to swallow type of message. I'm not quite sure. But if you have not yet, please like and share and subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And then later on in this show, we're going to recap and, bring more awareness to this Dr. Arikana, her types of plans that she has already devised for people to partake in her ADDI, and some of the things that she said in times past, also in relation to today with her association with the Ghana President Otto and how they were in cahoots for the year return, and all the things in which has sprung up about Wakanda City supposed to be done in Ghana, and all this. They're all in on this imagination of this creation of Wakanda City and all these plans for, people to pay that's not them, that they're trying to impose upon us as Black Americans, indigenous Black Americans, as being the people to bear and foot bills somehow. We'll get into that a little bit later, because I have been really talking about her a lot, and I want to kind of have a better messaging, hopefully, from this gentleman that's about to have his discussion. I guess I should say fair use of all videos under 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976 or 79. This is for education, observation, research, information, and entertainment, all the above, fair use. Let's get to the first video. I don't know who this guy is. This is my first time checking him out. And it says this message is for Black America. So it's supposed to be a strong message. Let's see what he has to say about what's going on with our community.
I want to have a conversation with some people today, a very specific branch of people, and I don't want anyone to have any hard feelings about what Too Strong is about to do. The reason we're doing this is because it's about time. And it's about time because it's been a long time coming, and I think too many of us have been put in a position where we feel we can't speak, but we ought to speak. But also, we've been put in a position where we no longer can not speak. This message, for those who are willing to hear, is to Black America. I want to ask you a few questions, and then we'll dive into some other things. But before, here's the two questions I have for you. Are you satisfied with the way things are for you here, right now? And number two, do you see any problem with other people piggybacking on your cause? Now, this is not just a modern day issue. This is a problem that has gone back quite some time. And we're not talking as far back as slavery, mind you. We're talking as far back as 1964. We're going to be tying some things together, and I hope that you'll join us in this conversation because it is one that's much needed between the people of America who don't identify as African American and those that do. When one looks at the civil rights movement, one thinks instantaneously Martin Luther King Jr., and we're going to talk about all the things that Black people couldn't do before and now they can do, and blah, 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 blah. What most didn't see, which was the unfortunate side, is that just like with every other bill the U.S. government passes, there was a lot of pork involved in the civil rights bill. One of the biggest pieces of fat, pork fat that is, that was included was the inclusion of the LGBTQ movement.
Now, I've been saying this for a long time, how other groups now have utilized the civil rights plight for their own, piggybacked off of our plight and springboard into their agendas and their outcomes, which have been more positive than ours. You know, the gay rights, transgender rights, immigration rights, illegal alien rights, so forth and so on. Asian rights for their hate bill, supposed hate bill. And now there was an Israel and, small hats bill that they passed too, similar to a anti-hate bill. So they have always been able to maneuver with our civil rights and use those things to better their conditions and then leave us in the same predicament as we have been in. And we still stay stagnated in the same spot as everybody else has maneuvered ahead of us. And it's very unfortunate that this keeps happening and people expect us as Black Americans to stay quiet and allow what's going on to continue. So he's saying that we should speak up, and I do agree. We should be speaking up more. Let's go.
No, this was by design, absolutely by design. And we'll show exactly what we mean by design. When this bill took place, everyone was thinking this was going to be a big march forward for Black America. Everyone's going to get what they need to get to what they deserve, and everyone's going to have an equal spot. However, there were a few people who did not see it that way, and they could not just give you what was due you and you alone. They had to put other things in because you, unfortunately, were not in their interest. You were the catalyst, no doubt, but you were not the focal point. You see, you were used. Just like you've always been used, unfortunately, and you will continue to be used as long as you allow it. Now, here's the big part. You have the choice to be used or not. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll realize that the choice is not that difficult to pick. It's just a matter of realizing that you have that choice. When the 1964 Civil Rights Bill got passed, there were two things that were included, the women's rights and also LGBTQ. Now, the problem with that is that they started to include you because they're equating you with something that was, on all intents and purposes, perverse. We're talking about the LGBTQ, of course. They want.
And again, they're trying to mask that with the civil rights, the Black cause, what we want to do. And they somehow have camouflaged it with our cause, making it synonymous, kind of the same. And even though I have led this alternative lifestyle, I do find offense that they would try to merge the two plights as one. It's very disrespectful to do that, because it's not the same thing as me being a Black American trying to acquire common rights and justices that I'm not able to get as other people can get in this country. And you want to merge the gay rights into the same lane, kind of. And it just takes over. It suffocates the other plight and pretty much takes over the agenda. And that's what has been happening. That is what is happening right now. And also now with the illegal immigrants and the migrants that are coming over here, refugees, they have now sieged the same tactic. And it's, until we get upset about it, until we get fed up with it, it's going to continue down the same road, unfortunately. Let's go.
In on your suffering. And eventually it would take root to the point where people today are saying that queer history is what? Black history. Because they've always been there, and it's always been one and the same way they want to say they're born that way. They tell you the same thing, that you were born as when it's your struggle, you know it well, and we have to include everybody because this is about rights.
Again, that tactic has really hurt us, and us embracing everybody's conditions on the same level as ours has really harmed our plight. What's up, Misty? How are you doing? How fed up is fed up, Mayor Michi? Well, first of all, it has to be more than just one person or a few. It has to be a chorus of us saying the same thing. Like, for instance, we all could have streams talking about how unsatisfied we are, to get the message out and to cause maybe grassroots about how we're feeling, and start chanting things and start letting that emotion be felt, because right now our voice is being not appreciated. It's not really being heard. People are speaking on our behalf, as I said before, designating themselves as our spokespeople. These people have other agendas that is not quite American. They're thinking of Pan-Africanism and other plights of people, and they're just trying to include us into the plight of that without even bothering to ask if we're interested. So this has always been our issue, with people trying to just maneuver us in a way that's befitting to their agendas, not ours. And this has got to stop. Let's get back to this.
What did you actually gain from the civil rights movement? What did you get that you couldn't do before? There wasn't a whole lot, actually, when you look at it at the ground level. There isn't much that got added to your life. What did get added were two things that you did not need. Two other peoples that got clumped in with you that are not part of who you are or your struggle or where you're going. You want more proof? Recently, you just got Juneteenth. And don't you find a little bit odd that the 1 month that they gave to Pride Month is the same month that they're willing to honor Juneteenth? Yes, granted that June happened, and it is exactly that year that.
And not only that, the immigrants now are tagging themselves onto Juneteenth and also the Black History Month, and making it about their history on top of our holidays. So this is happening everywhere you turn, everywhere you go. You keep seeing and hearing people just using up everything attached to us as they see fit, and then they discard it, disparage it, disrespect it, and then talk about their own heritage and how much better they are with their culture. So they use and bastardize everything connected to us as Black Americans, and then they, throw it away, put it away, whatever they do as a costume, and then, do their own type of vibration or immigrant cultural, whatever it is, as they see fit. But it's just telling how used we have been as a people, how people has pivoted off of everything involving us, and everybody's going through us. And we got to stop that. We have got to stop allowing that. And I don't really know how to go about stopping it, but I just know that that is a feeling that I have internally that I feel needs to be said. Somehow it needs to stop, or we need to make more awareness of this is going on so that we can get upset about it. That's the first step, I think. Let's go.
Month that certain slaves found out they were free, and you can't change history. That's when it happened. But why aside? Because this is not unknown history to the government, is it? No. They knew exactly when that happened, but they still decided to put June as Pride Month. There are 12, last time I checked, right? Okay. So they gave you February, and they gave them June. It just so happens that they already knew what happened in June. They couldn't give them some other randomized month. They had to give them that. That was by design. You know what it was really telling you? You are not worth the time. You may not see it that way, but you are not worth that time. And then you, of course, have people who are at the helm of this. And trust me, it's not white people. It's the same ones that you tried to say are your leaders. Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. Now, you see what the removal of MLK...
Of course, we got all these boule types, just like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, who have barred and blocked any progression on our end. They have not really rallied for anything. They have been pretending to be rallying for things, but they have not followed through as they have done with this immigration stuff. And they have been very, very quiet about how we've been ignored and bypassed. No one has said a whisper about any of the stuff that has been happening against the people in Chicago, New York, where all these illegals have taken over and seized, everywhere, that they, wherever they are, they have taken over. And we're not talking about that. The leaders are not talking about it. They're not trying to strategize to say, well, how we're going to keep going with some voice, because they have submitted and they have turned their backs on us a long time ago. Now it's starting to show out and show up that we realize that we have really been betrayed. We have been truly abandoned by all these so-called leaders that are now in office. All of them are has-beens, and they are worthless to us and our cause. Every last one of them. I can't say not a one is a good leader. Not one. And it's really, really sad that I can't even give you one. It's unfortunate. But let's get back to this.
Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. Now, you see, with the removal of MLK, there came two things. I'm not saying that MLK was any good or bad for the Black movement. He had, trust me, many things about his movement and what he believed was a detriment to the Black community. He was a great voice, but a very, 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 very dark stain on it, because his goals were just the same as Lyndon B. Johnson. But he persuaded people that you can use adversity, not forget it, use adversity going forward as a way, as a vehicle to get what you want. It really isn't the best way to do things, but it's the way that he portrayed as the best way. And many believed it. Why? Because it involved emotionality. And you can get a lot of people to follow you if you can make them feel what you're feeling. Now, it worked so well that people completely forgot two very important things about LBJ. One, he had no desire to help the black community. And two, he was an absolute and avowed racist.
They say that they can't discriminate, but I've got to prove they discriminate. I can't prove it in Texas. There are more niggers voting there than there are white folks. There are more of them behind poll actually than there are white folks.
There are people today that will look you dead in the eye and tell you, so what if he was racist? He signed the Civil Rights Bill. They don't care that he was a racist as long as he signed the bill. They don't even care about the bill because the same racist that they say is okay told them it was about them when it really wasn't. Say I was to give you a pair of shoes, okay? And I told you these shoes are the best shoes you'll ever wear. But I don't tell you that the shoes you have to share between 15 other people. And you have to isolate time to use those shoes. You can't just pick it up whenever you want. They're your shoes. Don't worry, they're your shoes. But you got to share them with 15 other people. Are they really your shoes? And did I really care so much that I bought these shoes for you? No. But I did lie to you well enough to make you believe that they're yours.
Mm-hmm.
And you walk around the place when you do have them on. These are my shoes. You know who got them for me? That person. Meanwhile, the following day, someone else is wearing the same exact shoe, and they go to that same person that you just spoke to. You see these shoes? These are my shoes. You know who gave them to me? That guy over there. This is exactly what they did.
Bingo. Miss D says, yeah, every plight is merged into our civil rights fight. It's not the same. We need to fight to highlight our own history. Facts. It just seems harder and harder to get this message out, but he is trying to break it down, I guess, in a way that those that are not really aware can really get what he's saying right here. We've been, like I said, used and abused like a hoe. They have bastardized our civil rights for other plights on purpose. This has been designed this way. This is why people keep getting ahead of us. It's crazy that this is going on.
He gave you something that didn't fulfill a single promise, but they made it believable because they got you to emotionally invest in it. Via the march, via the inauguration of the bill, the signing of it, the fanfare, all of it, and then the subsequent pushing of it in the media. But here's the reality of what's going on. This is the part I really want you to listen to. All of the struggles that you encounter today, you can avoid by your own decision making. I understand that people will say, well, look, you just don't understand. Okay, suppose I don't understand, but you do, right? I may not understand your situation, but you do. Have you ever thought maybe if I just sit down, analyze my situation, and logically work through this, maybe I might find a loophole or a big gaping open door to walk right through? Instead, we do exactly what the Civil Rights Bill did. We harp on one little piece and run with that all the way down the hall. And that is exactly our identity for the rest of our life.
Wow.
Not realizing there was way more to the bill and way more to life than we decided to watch. And it was because of that that people like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson are now the lead voices in your demise. And trust me,
damn, he said a mouthful. He said, to your demise. Yeah, that's kind of like what's happening right now. We're seeing the depletion and the downgrading of our ethnicity, the squeezing out of us being here comfortable in America anymore. It's getting harder and harder to find, those things in life that you take for granted. Peace, having a house, having a job, having, easy living. It's very, very hard these days to even have a house. It's kind of like a luxury, it seems. It's kind of like a luxury to be able to have what was easy to do back in the 90s and the 80s. Now it's virtually impossible unless you have two incomes. It's very, 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 very impossible, and it's set up that way. If you're single, you really shit out of luck If you have a child, you're struggling, you might have a little bit of assistance, but it's not enough. What's up, Ben and Miss D, Easy X, Charlie Shaw? Thank you for coming through. Mayor McCheese, I guess. Thank you all for coming through. Easy X says basically, we Black Americans are the biggest pussy in the United States. We are gang raped on the daily and ain't even receiving a dime for it. Wow. The list is long, too long to name all the pimps that sex traffic us, man. You ain't never lied. We're being treated like hoes, man. That's why I'm really, really upset about our situation. And we have bitch made niggas that are trying to make sure we stay in the position that we're in. And all they're talking about is Africa now. This is the dilemma that we have. And they're trying to bankrupt us on the Pan-African end. And on the American end, we're being squeezed out. We're really in an impossible place right now. And this is real facts to date, what is going on. And I hope people will get it. You hear an accent? He is too strong. First time ever hearing of him. He has over 150,000 subscribers. My first time hearing him. I'm not quite sure what he is. But he has a message about our so-called civil rights and all the rights that we did acquire, how it's been bastardized and how we've been pimped out for other agendas to be over ours and shared with our civil rights. And they have maneuvered and used up our civil rights for their end like a hoe. And that's just the truth. And we are acting like we are not seeing this. You know, and most of us are not vocal about it. So I'm glad and appreciative that a guy is at least speaking out about some of this stuff. Let's go.
Your demise. This has no benefit to you whatsoever. In fact, I will ask you the most pivotal question right here, right now, and I will almost 100% guarantee that nobody can answer the question to the positive. Name one thing since 1964 that either Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson has done to improve the life of Black America.
Nothing.
I'll be waiting for almost 15 years if I was to wait for an answer, and even then I might not get one. I just want one thing that they've done. I know they speak a lot, they talk a lot, they do a lot of stuff, but what has it actually produced? It seems like it produced a lot for them, though. I mean, they are really thriving. They make money hand over fist. They're living high and mighty. Secondarily, they don't live among you. They made sure to move out real quick. They don't have to worry about your concerns, do they? No. But they will tell you what your concerns should be. They know full well that they can get out of any situation, but will come back and tell you that it's impossible for you. How is it that they can do that? Because they have become masters of using your emotions to keep you stagnant. I know many will look at this and say the pivotal C word. I get it. Look, I understand. It's expected. The first part of hearing a truth that you've been trying to ignore is anger. That's the first thing you feel. When it hits home, you get angry. Because part of you is saying, how did I not see this before? But the other part is saying, how dare you tell me this now and not give me a way to get out of it in the future? That's the first phase of you understanding truth. Anger is completely understandable. But here's the other part that most people never get to, and that's the resolve of that anger. Okay, so now you're angry at me for saying what I said. Now answer the question, now that you're past your anger. Have they done anything? If they've not done anything, why call them a Black leader? Okay.
Yeah, it's a joke to call them anything. Let me see what you guys are saying. He's on one right now, though. He's breaking it down because too long we have seen these characters that have been raised up in our presence as far as being so-called designated as leaders. You only see them every blue moon talking about our issues only when there's like a real significant death, something that has been visually seen, like George Floyd. Then they rally around that as a sacrificial lamb type of deal. They only bring us up in death. They never talk about us today in life and living and what can we do to progress. It's always we want to honor the dead. That's it. That's all we get from these so-called leaders. They always want to pray about the death, rally around the death. That's it. That's all Al Sharpton's been doing. I haven't even seen Jesse Jackson. I don't know where the hell he's been. Have y'all seen and heard of Jesse Jackson? Is he even still alive? I don't know. Got to trust God, Judah. Tuckman says, gatekeepers. Yes, they are gatekeepers, Tuckman. Thank you for coming through. Easy X says, the only solution I have is to take care and fortify your family and loved ones and network with like-minded people. And those people don't necessarily have to be Black Americans. No, they don't have to be. You might be blessed to have very different friends out of the blue that come along to help specifically to bless you. God works through people sometimes, and they don't necessarily have to be Black. That's why it's not a good thing to always scream, white people this and that, because those same white people might be the ones that will be your saving grace. That's why I don't speak as I hate everybody or anybody, because I hate only people that hate me, and I hate people that would like to sabotage anything pertaining to me. Those are the people I hate. So I'm not, talking about hating a group of people, because you never know out of that group if they can end up being a blessing to you or a good person for you. You never know. I have been shocked by some of the people that have come in my life and helped me out, and they were white or Asian, or very rare that they were Black, but once in a blue moon, I might have a Black person too. Very rare, but more or less, I have had blessings from Mexicans, whites, one time an Asian. So yeah, it's possible. You should never spite people just because I don't. We the Jews, we have to pray. Tuckman says, you're a Jew? I'm not one. I'm not a Jew. Easy X says, last I saw Jesse Jackson is he was in a wheelchair. I think he is sick. Oh, okay. I haven't heard of him speaking on anything in such a long time. Now, I've been talking about, let me let him finish. I'm not quite done with him. I want to play the whole video. Let's get back to what he says. I was about to go to another totally different topic. Let's get back to this.
Okay, so say you don't consider Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson Black leaders. Let's say that Umar Johnson is your Black leader. What has Umar Johnson done for the Black community other than perpetuate your hate for the people that you say you need to help from? Now, don't forget, this is the same dude that says distrust all white people, but he went to recruit white people to help them build a Black-only schools. I want you to try and make that make sense, but this is exactly what they do. Yes. That's why that's not true. That's not as you go home. That's not true. Yes, but that's not true. I felt this way before I met my wife. So help me understand how you can be so passionate about the Black. I'm not objective thinker. I don't do this. Doesn't make sense. You have no loyalty to the Black community. Contractors were not kind to us, man. They ripped us off. They scammed us. They stole out the building. And I said, you know what? We may have to step outside the African American community and get this done. So I said, let's go with some white folks. And guess what? Here we are, 90 days later. And the white contractors have gotten us to the finish line. They will tell you what you...
To the finish line. That school is still not open. He is the biggest liar. One of them. I should say not the biggest, because there are always going to be bigger liars. But he is... Umar Johnson, he plays this colorism game. He plays hate the white man, don't date white people and all that. I don't buy that he would not hook up with a white woman. I don't buy that he wouldn't do a lot of different things with white people. I just think it's something that he feels emotionally we're invested in, and he says what he thinks he needs to say to get us mentally bonded to his talking points of blackness in Africa, Pan-African talk, again, that black supremacy crap that does not make sense at all, which is mirroring white supremacy on the other side of the coin. And to me, it is waiting to be a big disaster, because you cannot force water and oil together and make it mix. It just won't do. But he gets to say his talking points. He doesn't get really called out, but I guess this guy right now is calling him out. Let's listen.
Can't do, and you should not do while doing exactly that same thing. When we look at Pride Month, we look at them including you in it because you know what they say, like I said before, queer history, black history. Do you believe that? Do you believe that your entire struggle in slavery and everything else is directly linked to sexual sin? That's what you believe? That the person that you sleep with is exactly the same as how you're born? And that your skin color and who you are is in direct unison with a sexual preference? If you believe that, then I don't know that you're really pro-black. Again, I know you might get mad at me, but you have to at some point pick, because let me ask you this biggest question here for that. Can you increase the size of your population as Black Americans while indulging in the LGBTQ agenda? I will answer that question for you. No, you can't. It's not possible. Because the only way for you to procreate is to have one of each, male and female. But they've convinced you thoroughly that there is no difference between you, LGBTQ, and women's suffrage. And with doing that, they've kept you exactly where they want you, subservient to them, because every bill that has to pass is now under the idea of what? Unison, unity, oneness, inclusion. You are no longer standalone. Meanwhile, you're the ones that went through what you went through. Blacks are the ones that went through slavery. But everyone else is piggybacking on your struggle. And you seem to be completely fine with it. In fact,
that's exactly what I've been saying. I can't believe that I finally find a few other people that say the same thing. It's refreshing though, but it's a little bit too late for us to really do anything because this has been going on for quite some time. Now we understand the game, and all this talk of Pan-Africanism again is a way to dissolve away our feelings about the immigrants saturating over here in America. Somehow Pan-Africanism means you're not supposed to see the other melanated folks that come over here because you're looking at them as the same as you, which is dumb because they're here to compete and replace you. But Pan-Africanism has you believe in the dumbest stuff, just like our civil rights has been bastardized, just like the guy just stated. Again, his name is Too Strong. First time ever hearing. I'll play the rest of that a little bit later. I want to get now to Dr. Arikana. A few points that I missed on her conference meeting, whatever it was, web meeting, and she was talking about donations and the ADDI, more about what she was expecting out of the people that she was talking to for asking for monies. And I want you guys to hear what she was asking for. Again, she has gone through a whole host of proposals of this and that and the other. She's just asking that you blindly trust her with all your money that you're going to submit to her monthly. Supposedly, she's trying to get people on a plan of sorts to pay every month towards this ADDI. so that she could have a supply of money to be able to do a number of things that you're supposed to just blindly believe that she's gonna go and do ultimately. All these plans, all these people that she knows, and that's in the working of this and in the working of that. Never show any proof of anything, but just conversations of these things are gonna happen. Meanwhile, we want your money. Keep donating. Give us your information in our database. Trust and believe all the things that I have proposed to you for years now. Let's listen to a little snippet of what she had to say. This is what I didn't play the last day or two.
For centuries, they'll tell you they're going to build a bridge over there. Decades later, that bridge over there is never there. So the question is, what platform are these colonizers standing on? What platform is France, Germany, Britain standing on to warn us about the Chinese? What platform? Are they afraid of competition? They're afraid of the new kid on the block? According to this friend ambassador of mine, she said, my sister, we got problems in the village. We got an old thief and a new thief. They both gotta go. So don't be fooled and be told that the Chinese are coming and taking over Africa. What about them? What have they done all the centuries they've been in Africa? They have never been for the Africans. It's about what they can take out of Africa. And now they want you to fight their war against China. No, the colonizers have never left Africa. They need to go. And they cannot tell us that it's all about China. No, it's about China and it's about them too. It is just that simple. They both gotta go. The old thief and the new thief. It's just that simple.
It's just that simple, but ain't nobody going. And she knows that. I know that. Y'all should know that. Ain't nobody going. They owe too much money to China. She knows damn well ain't nobody going. But she's talking with all this bravado and all this base, all this conviction, knowing full well you can't get China to go because of all the different laws, and they have built this and they have built that and they're building this and all these things are going on, continues to go on. She doesn't have the power to stop anybody from doing anything, but yet she's talking as if she can just push a button and get things going or stopped. Come on. This facade, this act, this script, this fakery. I'm sick of her. Look at her though. Listen.
But they can successfully leave if we move in and we strategize and we organize. 1,000 people with $1,000, that's $1 billion. Do you know how much we can do with $1 billion?
Did you hear that? You know what we can do with $1 billion? I heard that. What you can do with $1 billion, huh? And who's she going to get this $1 billion? Why ain't she talking to the Africans? Y'all? She skipped the Africans. And she's talking to this imaginary African diaspora, but she's targeting Black Americans as usual. Oh, we can easily get $1 billion. Can't we do this? She wants control of all that money, and we're supposed to believe that she's going to build the Wakanda city. She's going to do this. She's going to do that. Oh, she got plans for this. Oh, she can do that. This is so incredible how she paints the lies of what she is capable of doing and what she has and works of doing.
It's about them too. It is just that simple. They both gotta go. The old thief and the new thief. It's just that simple. But they can successfully leave if we move in and we strategize.
So if we move in, they're going to just say, oh, it's time for us to go back where we come from. Do y'all believe that? Do y'all believe any of that? You know damn well ain't nobody going nowhere damn where.
And you organize. 1,000 people with $1,000, that's $1 billion. Do you know how much we can do with $1 billion? Now let's do it. Let's make it. 1,000 people with $1,000 is $1 million. 1 million people with $1,000 is $1 billion. Now let's make it 5 million people and let's make it year in and year out. You can quickly see how in no time, this black foundation, whatever you might call it, it's going to have so much.
This black foundation, whatever you want to call it. My God, she is a good liar. Whatever you want to call it, huh? Let's listen to that again.
And year out. You can quickly see how in no time, this black foundation, whatever you might call it, it's going to have so much money, just like the Jewish fund, that we don't need to go to anybody. As long as we're going to somebody, we put up our business plan, then we go to the same people who have oppressed us and ask for funding. Guess what? When we ask for funding, we're giving them all the information about your business. And they get to decide how they can control you. As long as you're still having to go to somebody to fund you, you are not independent. You are not free. No money, no voice. It's about economic liberation. It's about economic empowerment. Let's make no mistake.
It's about being bankrupt. It's about helping out a fraudster run off into the sunset with your money. Again, a already proven fired ambassador in 2019 is up here speaking as if she ain't never did nothing like that. And you can trust her with your money free and clear. All the things that she dreams of with her team of people can somehow rationalize why they are having hundreds of millions and $billions in her mind from us that she's supposed to get. She's entitled in her mind to have free and clear. It's just so amazing how this woman, this con artist, is able to just say these things. And for how long can she just say these things and get all this money without showing anything? I wonder where the cracks are going to come. I'm sure the cracks are already there. I'm sure people are already talking about something in regards to this ADDI. I'm waiting for something major to happen with the Ottawa coin and all the things that she's been doing. But again, a con artist working her magic. Check it out.
It's not by accident that every motel in this country from New York to LA is owned by the hotel. It's what? It's reason. Why is it that? Because they put their monies together. They don't even go to the bank to borrow money. If they borrow from their own bank. It's not by accident that all the nail parlors in our neighborhoods are owned by the Laotians. They believe in each other. They pull their monies together. 10 of them to a room. But give it 3 months, one is getting.
They believe in each other, but we can't believe in you. We cannot believe in you. And it's very interesting how people just designate themselves as being the most trustworthy people out there. My God, it's so easy to do.
Opening a parlor. They're now a business owner. They trust each other. That is what has been taken away from us. The ability to believe in ourselves and in each other. That has got to change. It starts with the conversation with the image in the mirror. United, my sister, to answer your question. This African diaspora, let's make a commitment to be on the driver's seat for the African continental development agenda. Now that we are...
That's what she thinks. She thinks that Black Americans are going to be footing bills for development proposals there in Africa that she can just come out with, and that we're going to just foot the bill and be debt slaves to what she has envisioned and imagined. Meanwhile, we're depleting ourselves, bankrupting ourselves, trusting someone like that. What if her ADDI gets hacked? That has happened, and all your monies that's stolen because you are putting and inputting your bank information after you've donated something. Because, of course, she's going to be asking you first and foremost for donations. And you're supposed to submit all your information there in that database that is kept nice and snug for a rainy day. Trusting a woman like this, best of luck. Let me see what you guys are saying, then I'll continue. Again, this woman should be talked about, I think, by a lot of us, because she is really putting it out there that this is our responsibility with what she has made up. Just made up as she's gone, and saying we paying for it. What the fuck is going on with this woman? What's up, Edak? How are you? You said you're a Hebrew, black man, tuck man. Okay. You're Hebrew over here. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate that. Facts. I have no issues with anyone, Miss D says. I will give them a chance, but if I find out if you are racist and against my rights in my country, I have a problem. Yeah, if you prove to me that you are a problem, I don't trust every white person, of course. You can't do that. I'm just saying that there are good ones, and you can't count everybody out like that, because that could be a blessing for you. You just never know. That's just the way that the world works. Easy Act says, I really think Umar will be 80 years old preaching the same message still with no school. He should have been ostracized a long time ago. We should have a new cultural activity where we oust people out of our community. We make a completed denouncement of these people that are doing these things in our community, and like get him up out of the community and bar him, essentially turn your back on him. If we all could do that, we could start making people do right by us better, because right now people are just able to do and say whatever and just get away with getting away with just doing whatever they want to do, making money off of it too, and just talking shit to us, just talking shit at us. That's all Umar Johnson does, talk shit at us, and still does not have to produce his school. He's just lounging around when it comes to the school. Lounge time. It's amazing. Easy X also says this guy seems to be a deep thinker. Sans emotion. I wish most of our community can be deep thinkers and see how we are being finessed. Man, I don't see how people can't see it now. If they are still in denial, they want to be. They want to be. Edex says, thanks to you for Black. I'm watching a lot of Too Strong content. They speak a lot of truth about celebrities. I don't agree with them labeling Tupac Shakur gay, but some points was in that particular show. Really? I think I've heard that before. I don't know what to think on that. You never know, but I'm not going to say one way or the other. He still was the greatest rapper, in my opinion, that I've ever knew or heard of. Edek. Thank you for coming through, though. Yeah, and Too Strong, I'm going to try to listen to more of his content. That was my first video that I've heard of him, and I just thought it was a good statement he had on his title, so I wanted to check it out. Edek says, thanks to you. Oh, I read that already. Yeah, Dr. Khan artist would make a great villain as a spy. Yep. What African country is she from? She's from Zimbabwe. She's from Zimbabwe, but she has classified herself as our voice. She has designated herself to be our voice, and she is trying to say that we are footing bills to plans and proposals that she has made up along the way, and people are clapping their hands about this. It's the most craziest thing I have ever noticed. Like, I would not be sitting up here listening to this lady tell me that I'm footing bills, just blindly giving her money for months, just designating so-called money set aside for her and her mind of thought, without saying, well, are you including Africans? Because you're talking to the so-called African diaspora, which I'm not a part of, by the way. We don't have any country from Africa we're from, so how can we be a diaspora? I digress. But, you know, she just is doing too much. But I just want y'all to hear what she has in her heart. And in her heart is that she thinks we're to pay. And, people did not push back and say anything. They were just so respectful of her, like in awe of her, in awe. I don't get it. I don't get it. EDEX says Black Americans' biggest failure is not identifying con artists and ousting them out of our circle of trust. Exactly. As soon as we realized Umar Johnson was a fraud, we should have ousted him. We should have some type of strategy to collectively oust him and turn our backs on him and make it hard for him to be a part of any speech, like nobody goes and he's barred from performing and talking and traveling, doing something, But no, they just let him just skid on by. He still talks shit to us, makes money and gets donations, never produces the school, year after year after year. The same shit. He just walks around in the yard, shows the building and doesn't move in as if he did something. It's crazy.
That is what has been taken away from us. The ability to believe in ourselves and in each other. That has got to change. It starts with the conversation with the image in the mirror. United, my sister, to answer your question, as African diaspora, let's make a commitment to be on the driver's seat for the African continental development agenda. Now that we are organized, we're going to be reaching out to the heads of states and letting them know before they will consider looking outside for their international contracts, they must come to the African diaspora first, and we will float out the contracts, and we will raise our own money to fund those contracts. The objective and mandate of ADDI is to mobilize African diaspora and facilitate their involvement in the development of Africa. That we must do. That is my personal commitment, that I will see to it that we pave the way for easy landing of African diaspora as we go home to build the Africa that we want.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I will now bring Mr. Kevin Harbour. Mr. Harbour, let me unmute you. Please ask your question.
Oh my goodness, Your Excellency,
Here we go with a goofy. After hearing that he is supposed to be signing up to be a debt slave for her, here he comes on. So goofy, so in awe of her. Did y'all hear anything remotely like anything that you should be hyper about and happy about, enthused about? I mean, let me know. Let me know.
It's been enlightening. I'm 63 years old, and I've been waiting to hear this all my life. And I don't believe I'm too old to make the journey.
He's been waiting to hear this all his life about somebody wanting to drip you dry. Oh my God. I've been waiting for you all my life for someone to be dripping me dry and in my pockets, to have me indebted to the ADDI. I've been waiting for you all my life. Is he serious right now? What is going on? Why do we have y'all existing? Why are y'all so weak like this? Putty-like. Putty in the hand. Why?
A lot of people my age, we came up, in the 70s and 80s, and, we got educated, and then we raised our children and sent them to the best universities. My daughter's just finishing up her residency at your alma mater, Meharry. And, my thoughts were to, how do we
He almost started crying, y'all. What part of that speech that she just gave would make you want to cry? I am so lost right now. But this is why we have an issue. We have effeminate ass dudes that's soft as putty. They don't have a backbone. They are lost somehow, and they're going to get got. Apparently already he's been got, because this video is a couple of years old. So he's already wrapped tight. Poor baby.
Out of me. We're tired. We're tired of asking. I'm tired of asking. So it's ironic that, we have the education, the capability, we have a work experience, and some of us have a few nickels that we could rub together, and maybe we could make a difference, because then that would endear us. We wouldn't be looked at as Americans.
We wouldn't be looked at as Americans. Did y'all hear that? Listen to this. This is the lostness that I see. This is when I see someone being lost. Please rewind. Trying to get him to rewind a little bit. Come on now. Come on. Okay. Want y'all to listen to what he just said.
I'm tired of asking. So it's ironic that, we have the education, the capability, we have a work experience, and some of us have a few nickels that we could rub together, and maybe we could make a difference, because then that would endear us. We wouldn't be looked at as Americans. I did my answer.
We wouldn't be looked to as Americans. Why is that the first thing that you would go to say? That is our identity, American. Now he's like trying to throw being American underneath the bus. And here he's about to say he took his DNA test, y'all. Another one of these types that's letting the DNA test make them. Listen to this. Goofy.
Common, I got Ghanaian blood. I got Nigerian blood. I got Congo blood. I have it. And I'm not afraid.
And you shouldn't be afraid, my brother.
You're waiting for reparations. I don't want to wait. I want to be able to go over there and help with infrastructure, from transportation, to energy, to broadband, to housing, to water sustainability, to managing.
Does he look like he could even get around, y'all? Does he even look like he could be the type that could walk around in Africa and do something? Is he for real? Is this a script? I'm starting to wonder if this is not a script, because he doesn't even look healthy enough to be walking around doing too much of anything. And yet he's talking as if he's able to do this, he could do that. I'm not a believer in this at all. What do y'all think?
These things. There are so many African Americans here that are in positions of leadership that can project manage it. We have Black kids that are engineers that can code. They can do these things. And, from the outside looking in, because I don't pretend to know everything, but if we could help the African countries start making things, then they don't have to go outside for anything. We build the infrastructure and we start making things. Now we're sustainable. And
let me just add to what you're saying. 2017, President Trump was addressing the African heads of states, and he said, "I don't know why you guys are poor. My friends go to Africa and come back rich." Think about that. You're being told don't go to Africa. I've heard many say, "Well, what's in it for Africa? These African leaders, they just want to take our money." Far from it, my brothers and sisters. People are going to Africa not because they love Africans. They're going to Africa because there's something amazing and wonderful going on. Before COVID, if you're going to be flying to Africa, 75% of the people in the plane do not look like you and I. If you are within Africa, 75% of the people in those planes, intra-Africa flights, they don't look like you and I. They are not coming to Africa because they love the Africans. They're coming to Africa because something amazing and wonderful is going on in Africa. Black people, on the other hand...
Again, why are all the Africans fleeing? We're not buying all this notion. They're going over there, other races of people comfortable, comforted. They got their own monies. They built their own things. In a matter of, what, a week or two, they could build something? China ain't no joke. We cannot compare ourselves to other groups of people. That does not make sense. We are not a nation like that, built with money like that. And we don't have a lot of people to trust, obviously, in our community. And most certainly we should not be trusting the likes of a Dr. Arikana, who was fired for fraud and carried it forward doing the ADDI and talking to us immediately after. Got her ADDI popping. Sure. Let's see. The actress who portrayed Tupac Shakur's mother in the film All Eyes on Me is also from Zimbabwe and was talking about Black Americans on TMZ years back, EDEC says. What? They always do. They always do. He's 63 years old, I know. And he says that he wants to build this, he wants to do that. I think that man was sent to say that because he could not move around that much. He was not healthy looking at all. You said goofiness comes in all ages, Easy X says. His daughter should disown his goofy ass. He was definitely a goofball. But that just goes to show you the types of people that would be prone to being set up. They are so naive and they just want to believe so bad in somebody. They want to just exit their thinking and just believe blindly. What comes to mind is another guy I'm going to play. Another guy that has to be close to 70, if not over 70. And he's talking about Dr. Arikana like she is like an angel or Jesus himself. It's starting to feel like a cult. It's really getting a little bit spooky. It's getting a little bit spooky. You said, Miss D says, our reparations is not going nowhere in Africa. Some old heads bugging. She is also trying to get our reparations. She has lawyers talking about our reparations right now. She's been very, very busy, y'all, with a lot of projects pertaining to us. And it's all done against our will. But she has a few knuckleheads like that guy and several others that are goofies that will walk around and let her represent them. This is what has been going on. You said, I'm playing with this goofy Easy X. No, I'm not. He looked like he was acting. He looked like he was doing a commercial. Some of that stuff seemed kind of staged. I don't believe that man could go out in Africa's hot sun and do anything for too long. Miss D says we need to use our skills to help our plight. We haven't solved the problems in our land, kept our talents here. Yeah, a lot of us have stopped doing trades as much. Walter says, looks like he's helping himself. He looked lost to me, Walter. What's up? Leonard says, look at this wicked demon doctor, devil kind of. Yeah, she does look like a demon, don't she? Easy X says, I'm cackling at this lard ass goofy. He should be preparing to retire instead of building an empire, did you say? Okay. Pinky Wells, what's up? How are you? You said Easy X says that was interesting what Her Excellency just said. People ain't going to Africa because they love Africans. Okay, they're going because they're taking advantage and they're setting up shop. And it's so easy to do because there's no system in Africa to do anything as far as checking out different people and having access to other people's property and all that. They are regulating and running their own thing in Africa. All these other peoples. And she wants us to pretend like they can undo any of the things that's going on like that. You're not kicking out China with all that money they done let y'all borrow. They ain't going no damn where. Miss D says we need to move away from some of the old heads who will sell us out. You ain't never lied. She can get lawyers. She has no legal rights to our money, Miss D says. She's doing everything to pretend like she is having rights to our money. That's the thing that y'all don't realize. I'm telling you, she's a very, very dangerous person. She is moving very strange. But the types of people that get her or are falling for her, let me show you. Let me give you an example of this guy that I could not believe.
Robinson and Ralph Bunch.
Hold on.
To Bunchy Carter and Angela Davis, just to name a few. UBA has always strove to lead both in the intellect of our minds and in the determination of our clenched fist to effectuate change. You join us today as UBA blazes the trail in our ongoing road to social justice as we use our platform to highlight the voices, the causes, the need, and the demand of our people. That brings us to today. We are deeply honored to have with us the former African Union Ambassador to the United States, Her Excellency Dr. Arikana Chiombo-Iquao. Before we bring her forth, I would like to give the floor to the man who first exposed me to Dr. Arikana to share a brief reflection of the impact that she made on him. Ladies and gentlemen, I, at this time, will introduce my dad, Mr. Michael.
Now listen to what he has to say. Again, these types are prone to be God. They're naive. They're dreaming. They're fantasy filled. They talk about Kemen and all this goofy stuff. He looks goofy. He sounds goofy. Let's go.
Johnson.
What the science is showing us is the universe appears to be alive.
Oh, by the way,
to be conscious.
please like and share the video. Please subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Yeah, this type right here, he has got to be about 70 or so. His name is Michael Johnson, and he is a diehard person. He's definitely done signed on and now has probably been making payments to this ADDI, listening to this woman right here. And look at how starstruck he is. It's sad.
I'm not from academia. I'm not a politician, but I'm just a man that's about 75 years old. And I've been in this country all my life. And I've been searching for the reason that we are in the shape that we are in as a people. And bottom line, it's a psychological warfare. This is a problem that we're having with our people. It's a psychological pandemic that has poisoned us against one another because we are following another man's culture, another man's religion, and it is killing us. We have to have a mental declaration of independence. This is what I like about Mama Africa. She exposed me to the truth about Africa. And I try to simplify it as much as possible that as a continent, what we have, when a person comes to a park and he has the ball, he makes the rules. And what we don't understand as a people is that we have all the balls. The resources that the planet needs is in Africa. And once we understand that we have the balls, we can control what we want to do. People will treat us with respect, and we're not going to get respect until Africa gets respect. I don't care where we go on the planet. That's just the way it is. Another thing Mama Africa is going to talk about is ADDI, and that's the African Diaspora Development Institute, which will take in our names and our resumes.
This man is 75 years old, calling Dr. Arikana Mama Africa. Come on, dude. This is shameful. Like, he doesn't have no pride within himself as an American. He's been broken down or punked, I guess, all his life. I don't know. Sounds like it. But now everything is about Africa, and he's calling a woman that's probably younger than him Mama Africa. Think about that.
And whatever our talents are, these contracts will come up, infrastructure contracts will come up in Africa, and we will have first crack at those contracts. This is the same thing that Ellis Island represents for Europeans when they came here between 1895 and I think 1924, something like 12 million of them. And they signed a ledger, and ADI is going to be our ledger. It is going to be where our...
He sounds like a slave, y'all. He sounds like a happy slave. I am not going in this direction. This man cannot lead me nowhere. He is now her bitch. He has been bitched out by Dr. Arikana. Listen to this. Talking about a ledger. Let's go back a little bit.
Thing that Ellis Island represents for Europeans when they came here between 1895 and I think 1924, something like 12 million of them. And they signed a ledger, and ADI is going to be our ledger. It is going to be where our future generations will come and look for our names. So I promote people to join ADI, and people, you got to get this. This is absolutely mandatory. This book is amazing. You will cry, you will be joyful, but it will give you a connection that is missing with the diaspora, especially here in America. We are so lost, it's difficult to even go into. But
again, all this talk about being lost. Speak for yourself, clown. A 75-year-old man doesn't know who he is after all this fucking time. It's shameful. I'm embarrassed. He's a Black American. That old and still confused. That gullible. If he gets got, I'm not going to be caring about that one. Because he is... he's worthless. What can he do for us? Nothing. He's carrying himself out as if he's a damn slave. That's a crying shame. Let me see what you guys are saying. Yeah, she's working with the CBC and NAACP to get the reparations paid to Ghana. Exactly, Pinky Wells. Exactly. They are trying to hijack our reparations and claim that shit is called unity. And people are walking around talking about Ghana. Ghana is trying to do a hijack move alongside of her. They all in it together. They all are in it together on trying to hijack our reparations and leave us with nothing. And everybody's just like, oh, Ghana. Oh, it's so wonderful to go to Ghana. I'm like, y'all some idiots. My God, why, God? Why? We don't understand enemies. We don't even know who our enemies are anymore, Lord God. Open up our eyes and let us see the enemies as they are. Stop letting them go back to sleep and playing dumb, Lord God. These people are our enemies. They're not our friends. They're pretending to be. Why can't y'all see? Easy X says, I will say again, if I ever go to Africa, I'm going to exploit it like everybody else does, including Africans. Oh my God, Easy X. I suggest you just skip out Africa altogether. I wouldn't want nothing to happen to you. It's not even worth the risk. It's not even worth it. He can go to Africa and perish. I won't, Pinky Wells says. Exactly. He's a ghetto professor. That's exactly what he is. Break over. Okay, Pinky, thank you for coming through. Miss D says we are following our own culture. The African culture is not our culture. I will never follow. There's strange things that some do on the continent. He seems brainwashed, Mama Africa. It's embarrassing. It is not cool to be 75 years old and to be so caught up in awe of a vulture. He wants to befriend a vulture that's trying to make sure that he dies as soon as possible so the vulture can have its food. And he wants to befriend a vulture in Dr. Arikana. It's like, oh my God. What am I to do? Miss D says, can't compare to Ellis Island people. We are indigenous Black Americans. We're not following these fools. Most of us not interested in this BS. But think about all the ones that are. Think about how happy they are to sign on with this notion of you're helping out Africa. You're helping out the future of Africa. You're submitting all your information into that database. You're telling where you live, your number, where you work, what you do, what your expertise are. You're giving a donation because they're definitely trying to emphasize the need for you to start donating something. And they want to get you on some type of plan of sorts to make payments monthly. All free and clear cold cash. For imaginations and conversations and speeches. I just never understood it. Easy X says, is this the goofy hour? We went from Umar to 63 years old to 75 years old. Are there any 80, 90-year-old goofies on this particular part of stream? He's the first 75-year-old goofy I've seen, but it's embarrassing to know that he is not even understanding a predator right in front of his face. And he's just like giving homage and praise to her. And I'm sure her ego was feeling good. I imagine her ego was getting stroked like a motherfucker. Miss D says, facts. If he loses his Social Security, I don't care. We not lost, and if he feel that way, he can take his ass to the continent. Exactly. Why we got to be lost? Can't you just speak for yourself? I'm lost. Just say I'm lost. Why you got to say we lost? Why you got to throw us all in the same barrel? What's wrong with y'all? Just say I'm lost. Not all of us are like you. Say I'm lost. I've been trying to figure out myself as a man. I've been a short guy for a long time. I have complexes. I haven't been chosen by a lot of women because of my smallness. And it made me feel like I'm not a real man. So hearing a powerful woman such as you turns me on. Say that, Mr. whatever your name is. I just get this impression that he gets this weirdness of feelings about her because of how she talks. And it makes him feel something inside himself because maybe he always wished he could be that type of person. I don't know. It's weird. You said facts if he loses. Okay, I read that. We waking up to the con. That's the old panty with the BS. Yes, it is. Let's go back to listen to a little bit more of what he had to say. It is quite interesting how he says we're all lost. People need to learn to start speaking for themselves and stop including everybody because that's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous.
I'm honored to be on the program, and I have to thank my daughter for allowing me
participate. So
Thank you, Dad.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Dad. I appreciate your words. What I'd like at this time, everyone, the next voice that you will hear will be our liaison to making this event happen. He's the former president of the UCLA Black.
No, that's all I wanted to let you hear. That's all I care to have you hear. I just want y'all to know that she has influence, and she's been influencing for a while now. And it's just unfortunate that people are being taken in by the likes of her, and just blindly giving her money towards this ADDI. I feel eventually there's going to be a big scandal regarding that ADDI, because all that money you're pulling from people and you're not showing any proof, eventually people are going to start asking questions. And I'm pretty sure that something's going to evolve around that. And like I said, people's monies are going in a database. We don't know if it can be hacked, if other people are sharing your information. You never know. They claim ain't nobody sharing information. They claim that it's safe and sound. But we've heard these things time after time, and they ain't so safe after all. So this conversation about us being who we say we are, and how people are always fighting us over claiming American, apparently, and claiming indigenous also is getting a lot of people peeved. And so there was a recent debate talking about whether or not blacks are the real natives to America, and that blacks didn't come from Africa or slave ships. As I stated before, I think we're multi-raced. I wouldn't be surprised if there was African heritage, but it's not the only one. I don't dwell on 400 or 500 years ago. I'm dwelling on here and now, as I am here and now as an American. I don't want to have to be forced to go back to a time that is not have nothing to do with here and now. I'm not trying to benefit other people to try to subjugate myself in a system where they can bankrupt me or make a fool out of us, take advantage of us, abuse us. I'm fighting for us to have our respect and have our rights as a people here in America. People don't want us to treat ourselves as such. They want us to treat ourselves as slaves, and that we don't have any rights or any way of claiming your own identity. So that's why there's a lot of emotion that goes around what we say we are. And it's very fascinating how everywhere you go, people have questions about our identity specifically. So I wanted to listen to a little bit with y'all this stream that just happened with this show called the To Be Fair Show. And I didn't start at the very beginning because they take a long time kind of warming up. So I kind of went almost close to an hour. So let's start there and get an idea what they're talking on. But again, it's about our identity as usual.
You're not specific. So you don't believe that Native Americans and Hispanics share a very similar phenotype?
Maybe to some degree, yeah. Like that's tough to say because I think they look more like if you look at what they call Native Americans, and you look at like Fat Joe, I mean they might have like a palish complexion or light skin complexion, but the Asians,
I guess like
the eyes, they have more. With Native Americans, people that don't call it Native Americans kind of have like the Asian phenotype in their eye area versus Fat Joe. He just seems like he's European, basically black. So that's my question. Does that answer your question?
I'm not sure where Fat Joe came in. I think he's like Afro. What is he, like Afro-Caribbean or something like that?
He's Puerto Rican.
Yeah. So we're talking about like Native American people currently known as Native Americans. Like from to me, I guess because just answering what you was speaking about or an assertion that you made where you said that I kind of had a brain fart for a second, but nonetheless, it was based around the idea that Inuits, Native Americans, and Hispanics don't share like a similar lineage, or the fact that the people of South America couldn't be the exact same people that were Native Americans and or the Inuits.
I'm not understanding the question. I think it's way more complex. I think it's way more complex than that, because the only people that run America that I'm aware of are the Black indigenous, some Africans that came over here. We also have the Asians that came over the land bridge and became like the Native Americans that we know today, and then Hispanic people, which are a mixture of Spaniards and the Black indigenous.
So you think that like the people from Spain, when they mix with like Black people, they look like Hispanics?
Yes. Like there's a famous picture of a Black grandmother. I'll just send it to you.
And you think that looks okay? It's just interesting.
They have a whole concept over there called like Blockionento or something de la raza, which basically means the bettering of the race of white race. So their whole like when European British people came to America, they weren't really mixing with Black American unless it was like they didn't have like a mulatto class that was kind of like have like rights like they had over here. So they kind of mixed in more than the white people who wanted to like preserve their white genes. Like if there was a mixed kid in America, you were automatically a slave. I think the Spanish had there are different brands of colonialism between the Spanish, the French, and the British. So I think the Spanish version is more of a like mixing in. They're not mixing, but they still dominate, don't get me wrong. But they had an effort to turn the native population into fair skin like mulatto. So that's where we get Hispanic people, like J-Lo and Fat Joe.
Gotcha. And as we continue this conversation, I definitely think that this would be a great insertion for Dan did so at some point. I know that you are currently in the region, and you would probably have, like a different perspective as well. But Alex, I love you for you hopping.
Just to address the claim that the Olmecs are Black, there is no scientific, even like a scientific evidence or conclusion or consensus stating that the Olmecs are Black. I have up on my screen a picture of like the Mesoamericans that the statues actually look like. And the reason why people often attribute that the Olmecs look Black is because you kind of attribute things to what you're familiar with. You see a big nose, you see big lips, you think Black people, but we aren't the only people on this planet who have big noses and big lips. It's not a characteristic or a phenotype that is specific to us. So it's on a TV, like not TV show. I mean, I guess we are. On a show that we're pretty much talking about like the importance of like race and culture. Like it's kind of disingenuous that we're always so freely to like, these people that are still here, their descendants are still here. They was making statues of Black people. That is scientifically, historically, and like 100% inaccurate. Just to like go back to like the quote that often gets misattributed. Here's Giovanni Verrazzo. They are dark in color, not unlike Ethiopians, with thick black hair, not very long, tied behind their head like a small tail. As for their physique, blah 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 blah. Let's skip here. From what we could tell from observations in the last two respects, they resemble Orientals, particularly those the furthest Cenarian regions. So, East Asians. Like that's like I hear what G is saying. And I apologize, brother. I love you. You my best friend. We gonna meet up and have a beer in what's that place, G? North Camp, whatever.
Camp North, there you go.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stick to what I'm talking about here. But like what I'm saying is it's not like these people came over here and didn't know what the ethnicity of Amali was. Like African people like made like really big empires, the Mali Empire, the Kush Empire, the Egyptian Empire, all these rich tribes, like they knew what we looked like. They came over here and like, these people are dark. And like they kind of like extrapolated from there, but they weren't saying that we were here. There's a lot of evidence stating that we weren't here, because one thing that is very prominent where we are in Africa is rice. The specific grain of rice, which is like, I think like the West African rice, that only, like for something that is a staple of all of our diets over there in Africa, it somehow didn't manage to come over here until the South Carolina farm, and that being this cash crop there. Like I understand what everyone is saying, but when you put all this together, the story does not map out that we were here for millennia, or the dark people who are here are considered that. There's dark people from the Congo. There's dark people who are from Tasmania. There are dark people who are Aboriginals. We, as black people in America, black people in the New World, heck, black people, period. We don't consider like dark-skinned Aboriginals as dark-skinned people. We might naturally consider them as colored people, but in the context of this conversation where we're trying to decide whether or not black people, like people who look like us on this panel, whether or not we were here, that is what I'm talking about. Did we have the technology to get here? Yes. Maybe one or a few Africans managed to get over here. Maybe. But the evidence does not support that. As far as the land bridge, the Ringia land bridge, this is the most supported general concern. No matter what discipline you want to use, you can use genetic. Starting all the way in Africa, you can follow the Y haplotype of our DNA going all the way from Africa to here, from the very tip top of like North America all the way to the tippy bottom of South America. They have the same dominant QY haplotype. How is that possible if these people just got here, a few centuries ago? No, they've been here. But that is not the same thing when they look at our DNA. It's not the same, like if they took all of our DNA, it's not going to tell the same story that theirs DNA tells. And furthermore, I'm going to round it off with this. There are multiple, uncontacted tribes in North America, Central America, Mesoamerica. Hell, Brazil has literally, don't even go in the Amazon rainforest. It's illegal. Why? Because there's uncontacted tribes and we want to keep them safe and we want to keep you safe. Why do none of them look like us? None of them have dark skin and kinky hair like us. These people have been here for thousands of years, but somehow none of them don't look like us, but we somehow we were the majority of people here before colonial times. That doesn't make any sense, but I rest my case.
Trey.
Can I get in here?
Go ahead.
Can I get in here?
Yeah, you can go.
Like, this conversation is a bit fucked up because we're not speaking the same language. And in my opinion, Alex keeps referring to black as a synonym for African, and I'm not referring to them as synonyms. And so, like, for sake of conversation, black does not equal African. I think that will help some of what we're talking about moving forward because when I'm hearing Alex speak, it's in that context, and I'm not speaking in the context that black equals African. I don't think Trey is either. I'm not going to speak for Trey, but for sake of conversation, can we as a panel agree that black doesn't equal African? Or Alex, are you insistent that African is the same as black?
Well, I thought we cleared, I've tried to clarify that twice.
It's not clear though. It's not
Alex,
clear.
are you saying that black equals African?
100%. Yes.
Exactly. So, you see what I'm saying? So one person sees oranges, the other person sees apples, and we're having a conversation as if we're talking about the same thing when we're not. You see what I'm saying?
Do you consider black as an all-encompassing word for any dark-skinned person, even in modern times?
No, I consider black an American institution. I consider black an American institution. That's what I consider it.
Can people of African descent come here and identify as black? Yes. But to the point, right? When they refer to Ethiopians, they refer to them as Ethiopians, not black. Like, they refer to the other folks as different things. Like, when you come over here, as I shared the link in the chat for for American purposes, when we talk about black, it is not necessarily African. It doesn't mean that you're majority African, doesn't mean you even have a piece of African. Oftentimes, people from Spanish descent will come to America and identify as black because they look like me. Like, I could go to the Dominican Republic and I can find niggas that look just like me, and they'll come here, and though they speak Spanish, they'll identify as black. Same way, whereas white Spanish people will come here and they'll identify as white. So black in itself,
I kind of believe it along the lines of what he's saying. African to me does not equate or equal black. At least here in America, it's a category that was used. Many people were just placed in it based on the times, what was going on. Others were called colored, mulatto, freedmen. Some got, the black category, but it doesn't mean African. And everybody's trying to remix black to mean that, to try to encompass all of us and Africanize all of us. And that's not what I would like to see us do, because that's just not the truth. That's not the meaning of the word, at least here in America, has not been. And I'm not going to just pretend like I don't know that. And that's what he's trying to say too. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat room. Thank y'all for coming through. I hope that you guys have benefited a little bit off of this live. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate that. I'm gonna go back up. I wonder how the kids of these goofies turned out, sis. You ain't lying about our black male leadership is non-existent. It's sad, Easy Acts. The old heads are supposed to be able to tell us the truth in these times right now, how to be, and they're the ones that are leading us astray the most. A 75-year-old man is putting his trust into a woman who's a Zimbabwean, and he doesn't know anything about her like that. And he's just all impressed by her. And I'm sure he signed up to get some type of payment plan as she instructed. I bet you he's all tied up in that ADI, and it's sad. Miss D says, unfortunately, fight now. We don't have any leadership. Yeah, we have to all participate as leaders now, and because we don't have real ones. We have only facade playing ones. Miss D says they not black because black is our ethnicity. On the continent, they don't say they black. They use black only to get our tangibles. Yup. Is she thick, though, young legend? I don't know who you mean, who's thick. Anyways, oh, you talking about Dr. Arikana? I don't know. You have to look at her and decide. Let's get back to this right now. It's starting to get a little bit heated. Again, his perception of black is the same, similar to mine versus the other guy, Alex, who I think is Caribbean. And he's trying to equate black equaling African. And again, this is about our identity. We're fighting to maintain our identity. And people are trying to strip away our identity and say, oh, you're not really an American. You're all this time. You've been an African. Can't you see? These people are crazy.
So black in itself is not African, because Africans will come here and claim Africa and like they're African, they're whatever country they're from, they're not black. Like if I were to ask, one of my just African friends who has African passport, they're black when they're here, but they are from where they're from. So this is why I'm just saying, for sake of clarity, when we speak about this idea of who is here, I don't think nobody's saying that that the Africans were here, and I don't think anybody's trying to debunk the land bridge either. Like I don't think either of those things is what I'm trying to do, because
the land bridge thing makes sense.
Nobody said that.
Yeah, so
right. So I guess maybe this helps give me some level of clarity when we're talking about Black people being natives and aboriginals of America. What are we talking about? Who are we talking about? Like I'm trying to understand, because like it's hard to have this conversation if we do keep jumping around to specifically what group of people. I imagine that we're talking about people that look like the American descendants of slavery or the foundational Black Americans, like people that share a very similar phenotype as us. Is that who we're talking about, or we're not talking about that?
See, that's it. I would say it's not really a phenotype thing. It's the uniqueness of America. When you just look at how we're like Black, with the reason why we identify as Black was because that was a classification that we all sort of like fell under and then found identity within. That's the reason why we stand with it. So like we didn't say, hey, we're Black today. No, like the government said, okay, from here on out.
I guess what I'm saying is that to me, like if I don't have to use the word Black, and that makes this conversation easier, that like I have no problem using it. I mean, like changing the word with like say FBA. I'm trying to understand from the theory of FBA.
I'm trying to explain it.
Yeah, but like I get what.
So let me give me 2 minutes to just explain this.
Okay.
When we look at like U.S. history of how people were classified, it was white, free, other people. Those other people could have been non-white but free. So there were free people of color in America in those times. So that's like one example of like people who eventually get classified as Black. So at the very beginning of the census, it was you were either white and free, or you were non-white and free, or you were a slave. That was it. Once they got to a point to where Black became a thing, like now we're talking about the fact that it went from persons, slaves and free persons of color. You see what I'm saying? Before Black, there was slaves and free persons of color, or free colored persons. Those free colored persons included the quote unquote Native Americans as well. Like it was an all-encompassing thing. And then from there, it got so murky where it was like, now we need a whole thing of Black, where you got to either be Black, mulatto, a quarter of a Black, a third of a Black. And then from there, you were Indian, American Indian. They started to break out American Indian separate from Black. But this wasn't until the mid-1800s, if you feel what I'm saying. America had already been an institution for over 100 years officially. Unofficially, these colonies had already existed for hundreds of years, and stuff was happening. And it wasn't until the mid-1800s where people were forced to now identify as something that the government designated to say where you're either Indian or you're Black. And this is my point in saying this, is that it's not Black doesn't equal African, because in America you don't have to be African to be Black. Like that's my point in saying this. So it's like if you are in America and you have a certain color and pigment of skin, you are at one point early on considered Black. It did not matter if you could prove you were African or not.
I guess when I was looking it up, it seemed like it was like the vague term color, not specifically Black.
They had slaves, then they had free colored persons, and then 1850 introduced the word Black versus mulatto.
Right, I understood that. And then as well, mulatto for a while also just meant any person that had interracial, and that could be any version of interracial language.
It was the mixed folks.
Like, no, I understand that, but it's not as blanketed as everybody was also just swept under as Black either.
It
like,
wasn't until 1900.
Was a bigger blanket term than Black.
Correct, but it wasn't. But people had got swept underneath that because, like I said, like if you got to look at what America was at the time, right? Like this isn't the same place with paved roads, electricity, like you know, like it's like this was a very lawless, like, you know, America's known for crooks winning, like time and time again, right? Like, so this wasn't like a lawless country where people were following rules.
And I guess, so to me, I wouldn't have a problem like conceding in any of those points. My main thing then I'm asking would be, so all those people get reparations? Trey? Like, because the conversation and why FBA kind of like stands on this is explicitly for the context of reparations. Correct? Like the idea of delineating. But if we're saying that all these people...
I'm saying that it's more important to get an ID, have our identity understood, declared, more important than reparations, because that's something that people don't expect us to do. Again, us sharing names with other groups of people is erasing our ethnicity. That's why I say that we should declare our own identity, because again, it's getting muddied. It's getting muddled. So I think it's important for us to declare our own identity.
Encompassed within this thing. So then all these people would be getting reparations, correct?
Everyone that on the census is where it labels them black in 1860, they can trace back to that. And they are black today. And they've been in America the whole time. Those are the people who are entitled to that.
Okay.
And black is a caste. And it's like we have a caste system.
It's a caste, right?
Right. And so Africans, they weren't calling themselves black. They were calling themselves Asante, the Omi, whatever tribes they had going on with. Even those countries that, like Nigeria, that didn't even become a country until the 1960s. So black is an American thing. So to say black means African, when Africans don't say African means black, I mean...
Keep going.
I'm saying if Africans don't identify as black, why do black people in America have to identify as African? Like, we have our own, even according to the out of Africa theory, even white people have African roots. But if I can answer Alex from before, he said what happened to the black natives. They had slave rates and put them on plantations. You know that the Europeans...
I didn't answer that question, but thanks.
But you said that they have Aboriginals in South America who haven't been touched, and then you made it seem like those are the people that were here. So why are they black, right? You said what happened to the black people if the natives don't look black? Didn't you say something along those lines? You said they're
uncontacted tribes.
You just saying that phenotypically they don't look like black people.
You said what happened to the natives that are black I'm talking about? I'm saying they got put on plantations. You know,
no, that's not what I said.
But he's saying phenotypically they don't look like Africans is what he's like.
Oh yeah, my bad. I'm saying,
to be fair, right? Because when you said black, you were saying like, why don't they look like Africans? I just want to make sure I understood that right.
Let me just jump in real quick, because like I understand what you're saying, G, but I don't think that calling someone of African descent is an American thing. Like, for instance, Spain, like literally, like the metaphor of running of the bull. That is like, I don't know how much more anti-black you can get than, oh yeah, the black bull is coming, which represents the Moors who were invading them. They called I think I can say this. You know, what's the word for black in Spanish that we were called for? Oh, negro. Oh yeah, like they called black people Negroes. You go even to even Dutch colonies. Like they have, like, anytime they're talking about us, this context, modern context, historically, they have always referred to people. I don't know. I'm not trying to overcomplicate things, but they always refer to people of African descent as black. That's not an American thing. That's a European African thing. Anytime we're in contact with these people, we're automatically reduced to black. Now moving to colonial times, Shays Rebellion. This is an example of I get what you're saying as far as color goes, but people didn't make this distinction. No, it's poor white people, enslaved Africans, and Native Americans. That's who did Shays Rebellion. That's who caused a big old ruckus. It's like, oh man, we gotta make sure that we are kind of keeping these people apart. So if we're just gonna go forward, to answer Trey's question, my question is, there are, throughout the entire North America and South America, uncontacted tribes, as in the events of slavery literally went over the head. They didn't even know about this shit. They don't even fucking know we got internet and cars and shit. These people, none of them, if you tested their DNA, none of them have West African DNA. If you test the West Africans of today and African Americans, it's not a coincidence that we share similar DNA. It's not a coincidence that, the people who were really good at rice, they all somehow got migrated to the place that was cultivating rice. And only techniques that those people knew were the only techniques that were being done here. And they only happened here once slavery happened. So that's what I'm talking about on both ends. When it comes to just inventions, technology, cultural adaptations and devices, none of that existed over here. So I'm gonna need y'all to kind of explain to me, if you guys aren't for the recently out of Africa theory, I'm gonna need a time date on when do you think black people were over here? Do you think
you keep saying black synonymous with Africans though? I just want to highlight that.
What if we just said like black people that look like us then? Because that's what we're trying to get to the root of.
Because before Alex offended me, if you were to look at my family, my grandfather, his siblings, my grandmother, her siblings, they have the straightest of hair. The straightest of hair. My grandparents have always said that we had quote unquote Native Americans in the family. Like a lot of niggas in America be like, oh, we got Indian in our blood. Like it's a very common thing, right? But when you look at my family, their hair don't look all knotty and kinky like yours. That's what I'll say. And so for me personally, is that a mix of European or whatever? Like I don't know what there's no science to prove X, Y, or Z, because when you look at a DNA test scientifically, we all descend from common ancestors. We're all I do truly believe that when it comes to like human beings on the planet, we're all connected to some degree. Like there's gonna be common DNA just because of how humans migrate. So I wouldn't disagree with the land bridge thing and so forth and so forth. I wouldn't disagree with that, which is why I'm saying like people who look like us were here before America was a thought by the Europeans. Whether they look like you, whether they look like me, whether they look like Trey or Q, I think it was there was a diverse group of people on the continent that didn't all look like a monolith. Even if you go to Europe, all the whites don't look like the same whites, bro. You can tell the difference between the Dutch, the Germans, the Spanish, the French, the Anglos, and on that island over there who ain't getting no sun, don't use no toothbrush, no toothpaste. You can tell the difference, even in Europe, between different white people from different places. So why would it say people who are on this landmass, which spans north to south versus east to west? East to west longitude, you at the same kind of climate, whereas North America, it spans north to south, so you're getting a whole gamut of climates from the coldest of the cold to the Arctic up there in Canada to the close to the equator. So you're getting a whole mix of everything. No,
like I said, it's very funny to me how these debates are even happening. Why don't we just accept being American? All this time we have been. Now we have panels of people trying to dissuade us from believing that we're that anymore, and that we now have to pretend like we're African suddenly. It's weird. Let me see what you guys are saying. Thank you all for listening. If you have not yet, please like and share the video. Subscribe to my channel. This is For Black Righteous Folks Home, short for Black. Thank you for listening in the clouds. If you have a comment, please drop down and say something. If you would like to comment on the video after it's over and give your opinion about how you feel about the video, please do so. I would appreciate it. If you dislike the video, you can down the video, whatever. Just, participate a little bit. That wouldn't hurt you if you did. Miss D says the guy wouldn't end the argument by saying the descendant people were classified many times in America, freedmen, Negroes, black, etc., he wouldn't end the argument. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Jay Martyr says, we don't need reparations. We need the land returned to us with the rights to all the resources to that land. They say they took us from somewhere, then we can leverage that wealth. But we're already somewhere, and we've been already somewhere for a long time. So talking as if we ain't really been here for a long time is kind of weird. People just acting like we just arrived here. It's really a trip how people narrate our situation here as an American. It's very interesting. They said, oh, you guys just left Africa like not that long ago. Get the fuck out of here. We don't know nothing about Africa, nor many of us care to know anything about it. It's really odd how they're trying to twist words around and make it seem this and that. Miss D says to Martyr, you can maintain the land without money. True, Martyr says. Miss D says black is not a color or a look. Joseph Johnson says we are all different species. Yes, we are. Miss D says we are a new people. We have more admixture than Africans. People keep disrespecting 500 years on the land. Some of us have no African DNA, and some do. But the ones that do became different people. Exactly, Miss D. It's not so hard to understand. We are a whole new people. Over time, we have become whole different unto our own selves. And people are trying to say we're just slaves. They like to minimize it to that. Sorry, I'm not going to let myself be minimized to being a slave. That is not smart to do. And people are manipulating you when you allow yourself to even go there. We're talking about here and now. Who are you today? American. All that other talk is from other agendas. Again, that is counterproductive to us. There ain't no benefit to people that are not a benefit to their own people. Don't push lies onto us because we're exposing all those lies. Rolando says mind-blowing, but people don't appreciate the facts. Yeah, you're right, Rolando. How you doing, Alexis? Thank you for coming through. Easy X says, I think lots of people are confused because they can't distinguish the word black from being a descriptor to being an ethnonym. Indians from India, Asia can be very dark-skinned, but not black. Walter says, I think you are on to something. I think so too. Let's get back to this conversation again. Why are we so embroiled into the debate of who we are? It's all by design that this is going on, and people are saying that we're lost when we have never been. People are trying to put that in the atmosphere that we're sick, that we got problems. So when I was born an American, I had problems then. Upon birth, you're trying to tell us that we've been having a problem. Nobody else is hearing this type of rhetoric but us. No one is getting their hands squeezed tight and, arm behind the back, twisted, but us. Real men are on this platform, and I just don't understand why it just keeps going on and on and on. It's just a simple, I think, thing to deal with, but somehow it's stretched out.
Yeah, but I think, just to clarify, G, I think what you're saying is that there were dark people here.
Yes.
So I am saying those dark people have zero, before slavery and all that stuff, had zero semblance, genetic makeup, anything remotely similar to us. They all came from ancient, what is it called? Ancient Northern Eurasians, ANEs. That is pretty much like the, I don't know, I guess like the prototype of this people that migrated all the way through America. These people, in and of themselves, like you can see it in modern times, like these are Eurasians. These are the people that, like, when you look at East Asians, when you look at Southeast Asians, when you look at West Asians, when you walk all the way down from the very tippy top all the way to the very bottom in Peru, these people by themselves have their own very light, probably brown like your color, very dark. These people come in all different shades and sizes. So that's what I'm talking about. The dark shades that they saw wasn't us. When I was saying us, maybe I'm wrong, but when I look at you, I see another black man. I know you have a diverse family history, but when I look at you, I don't necessarily see someone who
is African.
To some extent, yes. I don't think you have the same monoracial parents that I have. Like, my dad's black, my mom is black. But I do see an African to some degree. When I look at all of you, I see Africans to some degree. I am not talking about we can't go forward and forwards like a new identity. But when I'm saying historically, the dark-skinned people who are here aren't Africans.
I agree. We agree. The dark-skinned people who are here were not Africans. So I just want to say that we agree. We agree on that. We agree on that.
So G. So when you look at yourself and I guess like other black, you don't see African in that as well?
Dog, I look at my beard and the way it grows. Like I said, like I don't know what my heritage is, right? But like the way my shit was 360s, very nice. You know what I'm saying? Like my hair.
But you don't see any idea like thought.
I ain't seen too many Africans.
African was inside your DNA.
Because I grew up a certain way, I grew up thinking this because I was taught where slaves come from West Africa. So like by default, as I said at the beginning of the show, I grew up thinking that, yeah, we all came from West Africa. That was like what I grew up thinking. But as I continue to just hear different sides of the story, like I said, like even on the continent of Africa, all of them don't look the same. So I don't think all of everybody in North America would look the same. Like, and I say that because Africa is another example of a continent that stretches north to south. So you're going to get more diversity.
Oh, of course. And I guess people maybe this was the question I had. We didn't really get into it. We've gotten to like this nuanced space right here. But I think that according to quote unquote stats or data, the majority of blacks that came here inside the transatlantic slave trade came from the west coast of Africa and the coastal regions of Africa. To me, if I'm just like spitballing, I do feel like there's like specific shared phenotypes of us, them, Jamaicans, Caribbeans. To me, I think that you can kind of like draw a fairly simple comparison between all of them and be like, this is one or two generations removed. Maybe they mix with whether it's some of the natives or aboriginals or white folk. And you have different things, but there's typical features of all these that even when in Africa, you can see a African that is mixed with the like a colonizer over there, and they tend to look just like what American blacks tend to look like from what I've seen. Especially if you go, then it's two generations black and one white. They tend to share almost identical phenotypes. Are we just like ignoring that, or maybe I have it wrong? I don't know if I have it wrong.
I don't know if I agree with that because if I look at a Malcolm Gladwell, for example, okay. like when I look at folks who are like literally half and half, like oh
no, not half and half. What I'm saying is, so if to me, what most looks like the average black, especially like if we get into like lighter skins and things like that, is at least one generation removed. Like they don't look explicitly half and half. We all know what half and half looks like. But when you have somebody that is half and half and they have a kid with a black person, typically the phenotype looks like very similar to us. If you go third, where somebody, and this is where most of us have that exact thing, where we have a grandma that was white, or not even a grandma, great-great-grandma, something like that, or a grandfather that was white. And then everything else ends up being black, and we have like these phenotypes that we tend to see consistently But I might be wrong. I think that G, you guys have to say.
Well, let me just interject real quick. Like G brought up a really good point. When you look in Africa, like people are like they look different. Like, and the reason for that is Africa, like by general scientific consensus, is the most genetically diverse continent on the planet. And the reason for that is like modern human history starts 100,000 years ago. Over 100,000 years while we were in sub-Saharan Africa, we migrated north, we migrated south, we migrated out east, and so on and so forth.
This we thing. We're not in the Saharan desert hundreds of years ago. Those weren't our people. Why do they do that? They steadily do that. So annoying. Let me see what you're saying. We have a problem. Our ancestors have a problem. No, everyone has a problem, Ms. D says. Yeah, we certainly have a problem. Suddenly, we have a problem if we don't accept them wanting to change us and make us over. Suddenly, we are sick if we accept what we've been all this time. Who is us? Those people are my ancestors, exactly.
That's why there's such we were down there so long, we had enough time to kind of mutate and change and evolve and grow. But that's why when you look at groups that kind of migrated out of Africa, like Europeans, Asians, and everything in between, when you look at their DNA, it's a lot closer to our DNA. Well, it's a lot closer to African DNA than it is. There's more similarities between that than African DNA within Africa. And the reason for that is these groups didn't have that long to migrate and mutate and pretty much evolve or develop these different characteristics. That's why if you grab a West African and an Asian person, genetically they have more in common than a West African and a Nilotic person. So that's why you see the genetic difference. But as far as how we look, we all don't look like Nilotic East Africans, Dinka Matumbos and Manute Balls and all them people. We look like your Ilgis Elbugs. We look like your pretty much your stocky Bantu, big, strong, fast, athletic running people. I know you're shaking your head, Trey, but if we pulled up the Nigerian World Cup team or the Ghanaian World Cup team or any African World Cup team, you look like you could be in the starting lineup. So I don't know why we acting we're not West African in some part. I am not discarding anyone's Aboriginal heritage because that did happen. Historically, when we were on plantations and when we got off plantations, there was native populations there that kind of were co-mingling with us. But to say that we're them, I think that's disrespectful. To say that we are the Aboriginal people of this continent, it doesn't line up with anything.
So it's disrespectful to say we're Aboriginal?
Yes, because it's not true. When there's actual Aboriginal people who are still alive today, still walking this planet to this day. I don't know how that's I don't know, to some degree, I don't understand how you don't understand that when your whole platform is about essentially that.
So it sounds like you're pretty judging. You're not even willing to think about the idea that maybe there are Black indigenous people here that were enslaved, and the intention was they want us to feel like we are foreigners in our own land, so we're not trying to get out owed. They have no.
I am open-minded, Trey, but that requires.
None of them. Bro, Michael Blackson don't look like any FBA that I've ever seen, bro. These look like Africans, bro. You kind of gaslight, bro. I can tell.
Are you right there? Yes, you are. Go over. Him. Yeah, him.
How do I?
You the center midfield right there.
What makes, because we're all the same skin tone, or what are we saying? Because we have similar shades of brown. Because I
don't think phenotypically it
what? I'm sorry.
This person right here.
What's a phenotype? What exactly does that mean? We're talking about.
I'll just
like phenotype, how your physical traits on your face, your body, how all that looks, how your genetic manifests physically.
Are you
Alex,
so y'all don't believe that this looks like an African American right here?
But let me, Alex,
Can you see that?
I don't think so. Look at that forehead.
This forehead. Wait, my bad. Let me see about. Can y'all see the mouse or not?
Oh man,
Yeah.
That was like
That's a.
He get pass. But black folks
that
get
is
pass
straight
for
right
white.
there.
Right here.
Come on, stop playing.
But that looks like
He's a goalie.
Bro, they got on the black and white.
There's some people that look like they're way more direct to source, but I guess the point that I was making is that a lot of them look very similar to what African American, quote unquote, or Black American, quote unquote, look like. But I guess if we're ignoring and like thinking that looks just as similar as Black people to Asians, Black people to Hispanics, Black people to I don't know, like I can just keep naming all the different ones. Then I don't know.
I'll bet $100 to my money going off is if y'all give me a list of African pictures and a list of foundational Black American pictures, the majority of them I would be able to pick out easily.
Well, I think so because most foundational Black Americans got some white in them.
But that's not necessarily.
It's like white or Indian, like one of the two.
That's not necessarily, even the darkest of Black Americans still don't look like Africans. Even all Africans don't look like each other. And even if we
Of course not.
even if we were from Africa,
Because that's like a whole entire continent. That's why, like, if you speak regions, I think that there's regions where you can see where there are similarities to African Americans. Or I mean, but I guess because making sure I understand, like, your perspective would land at, you believe that way prior to transatlantic slave trade. So how, like, give me a time frame. When do you think that Blacks were like the Africans that were in America? Or do you think that there's a common ancestry that traces back to Black trade? I mean, traces back to Africa or African Americans? Like, whether this is thousands of years back or no, you just think that, like, they started, or, yeah, go ahead.
I am not committed to the out of Africa theory because one of the biggest reasons is by those pyramids that are in South America, that the date is, like, they look like, I've heard them dated like they could be older. Even some of the original animals that are in America, this is kind of like, this is the source. And I also know that the out of Africa theory was given to us by eugenists who had an agenda. And also the fact that, Alex, you said that you recognize that there are a lot of dark melanated people in America, right? Okay, you also know that they enslaved the natives, right? And put them on plantations.
Not everywhere.
But in
Didn't natives also enslave Blacks? And it was like,
the red ones.
Yeah.
But I'm saying,
you were talking about the red ones.
In the Carolinas, you would agree that the Yamasee tribe was being enslaved. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, there were indigenous people who were enslaved. Like that's pretty much the entire story of slavery. Like they were enslaved.
That's what I've been saying from the start.
I know, but what I'm saying is we, as in West African of Oregon people, aren't those people. Like
I agree. Yeah, I think we agree on that. Yeah, but
we always agree, G.
But so what? So I'm too disingenuous, man. I don't know.
Keep going on this wall. So if you said that the melanated people were enslaved and they were put on plantations in the Carolinas, the Yamasee, because that whole Yamasee war was about them being enslaving people and putting them on plantations.
He's like whispering. What the hell? I hope he speaks up.
Yamasee. Okay, if I can trace my people to those same plantations, is that not a connection to the Black Aboriginal here that I have as a foundational Black man?
That's the thing, Trey. Like, you are conflating having a history of people commingling, marrying each other, adopting each other. That with pretty much you say you don't subscribe to the out of Africa theory. So I'm assuming that you believe in the multi-regional theory where black people, melanated people were already here, period. They didn't come from the Bering Strait, they were just here. But that's what I'm saying, Trey. I think
is that supposed to be based out of Pangea or something like that?
What, the multi-regional?
Yeah. Humans wasn't even around during Pangea, allegedly, according to science. But
no, Pangea was millions of years ago.
Okay, I was on TikTok. I seen a Native American use Pangea. I thought that maybe that's
humans weren't even. Yeah.
The multi-regional theory is the exact opposite. There were small isolated populations of humans all over the globe that pretty much evolved in parallel to pretty much what we are now today. But when you kind of map that whole thing out, is the reason why that's not generally supported, because none of the evidence, none of the artifacts, none of the historical records, carbon dating, DNA sequencing, none of that supports that. What it does support is black people in the sub-Saharan Africa, dark-skinned people, because let's say there weren't any race or anything or ethnicities. African people were first. They migrated up through, they migrated to South Africa, East Africa, to Europe, Asia, and through the Bering Strait into North America and South America. And in between those times, you had also dark melanated people that also, I think thousands of years ago, migrated into Polynesia and Australia. When you look at these people, their story makes sense. You see a dark-skinned person in Australia, you can kind of see, okay, in this time, I see where this ancestor broke off. They had the dark skin, but their hair wasn't necessarily like our hair. Their facial bone structure wasn't necessarily like ours. But we're not out there calling those people Africans. At least I don't. When I'm talking about what Trey is saying, hey, we were enslaved with these people on these plantations, 100%. If someone is saying that, hey, I am Afro-Indigenous, I have African ancestry and Native American ancestry, I am not 100%. I am not talking about you, because that is something that is documented. The Seminole tribe is a good example of that. The Choctaw tribe, the Cherokee tribe, they all have Dawes Roads that unfortunately say, hey, you're a red blood Indian and you're a freedman. And then that leads to a whole entire a legal debate where, hey, why don't we get any of the reparations? Why don't we get any of the money that was awarded to us through the United States government? So even from now to then, there have always been distinctions between dark-skinned people. If anything, that's what Walter Placker's main problem was. These black people are going to pretend like they're Indians, and these Indians going to pretend like they're white. Let's go ahead and put something in place so that shit doesn't happen, period. But they always made the distinctions. They never was you know what? Brown, black. Oh, yeah, colored. No, that wasn't what it was. They were trying to prevent things.
Actually, the Virginia Slave Code said exactly what you're saying that they didn't do. It said, whereas in the Majesty's plantations in America, slavery has been introduced and allowed, and the people commonly called Negroes, Indians, mulattoes, and mestizos have been deemed absolute slaves. So they put all those groups of people on the plantation together, those same plantations I came from. So it sounds like we were already here. Based on, because if I can trace my roots to the same place where they put the indigenous people, then those are my roots, which are indigenous, which is my whole point.
The indigenous people are indigenous. West Africans who were captured and enslaved, they're not indigenous to America.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the plantation, they put indigenous people on the plantations with my family.
Yeah.
They were black. So there are black indigenous people on the same plantations I come from. So is that not a linear connection between you and the...
No, Trey, because you're conflating two different points. You're conflating that simply being on a plantation is the same thing as being here for thousands of years.
No, I would disagree. That's not what he's saying.
Okay, let's walk through this logic.
That's not what he's saying.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my battery is getting low. I just wanted to give a little taste of the debate talking about whether or not indigenous black folks were already here in America. People are really in an uproar about us claiming anything pertaining to this land. Even if we did help build America since the beginning, they still feel like we shouldn't claim anything indigenous to America, which is very odd. Our position should be everything that we've done, we should be claiming from the beginning to the end, the middle and everything else. If you guys could, please like and share the video. You said we are the indigenous people. We are not West African. Exactly. The guy's voice is definitely annoying. Yeah, for real. Thank y'all all for appearing. I don't want my phone to die. My charger is not able to stay in charge for some reason. I need to probably buy me another charger. It's not linking up very well. Anyways, if you could, please like and share the video. I would greatly appreciate it. Have a great, is it Thursday today? Yes, Thursday. Have a great Thursday. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Bless up.